Well, hello everybody. Happy Sunday. My name is Scott Pinyard. I am the head coach here at This Naked Mind, and I'm coming to you live this Sunday, as I do most Sundays, to talk about what's been on my mind, right? To talk about things that I've seen in our groups, things that I've experienced myself, things that I think are helpful to the journey that we're all on together. So I want to talk to you today about reframing change, something that has really been on my mind a lot recently, and I'm gonna get into that in a second. But first, are you interested in how other people change? Are you interested in what this change of changing our relationship with alcohol actually means? You know, it's one thing to do it conceptually in our minds and to think about it and to imagine it. It is another altogether when we start to recognize, wait, this has some real world effects, right? What is this? If you're curious about what that's been for other people, we have an offer for you, and it's totally free. We are giving away free copies of Naked Life Stories, which is the latest book to come out from This Naked Mind, which is literally just a collection of stories where people write what their experiences have been, where they write about what happened to them when they went through and made this change, where they write about their experience with deciding to change their relationship with alcohol all the way through actually doing it. So if that is interesting to you, then I highly recommend you head on over to nakedlifestories.com. Again, completely free. We want to give you a free digital copy of this book. Of course, you can go to Amazon and buy it as well. But if you want it for free, head on over to nakedlifestories.com. You'll get that book for free. And that will be something that you can read and reread and reinvestigate and look at as you are going on your change journey. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about reframing change, and I'm going to warn you guys ahead of time. Sometimes I do one of these that's a little out there. You already have it, Diane. Awesome. That's awesome. Um, Sometimes I do some of these videos and they're a little bit out there, and this is going to fall in that category. So buckle up. So let me take a few steps back and kind of frame for you why I'm thinking of this. So I want to put a different spin for you on what this alcohol journey is. And actually, this is true with any sort of change journey that we might be going on. We so often view change as scary or hard, or with something like alcohol, sometimes maybe unwanted, maybe sometimes wanted, maybe sometimes not wanted. Hey Jenny, 226 days alcohol free, that is amazing. um I'm sorry you're having panic attacks. That is difficult, but I'm glad you are here and I'm glad you're watching this. Maria, 10 months this week. That is incredible. Congratulations, Maria. I'm super, super excited for you. So, we view change in this way. We're like, oh, I have to change, right? And a lot of times I think this view of I have to quit drinking or I have to do this differently or this thing is going to change in my life scares the hell out of us, right? And it leads us to resisting so much change. And this is particularly true with alcohol, right? We might know that we need to change. We might know that we want to change, or sometimes we want to change, and maybe sometimes we don't want to change, and we don't know what we want, right? We know that we try to change, and we know that that proves to be difficult. And so we worry about what life is going to be like. And, we may be told by others that we need to change. Someone close to you might have a conversation and say, hey, you know what? This has to be different now. I need you to change your drinking because of how it's affecting me or the family or whatever that might be. Or we might be told by the universe we need to change, right? Like we might be circumstantially sort of egged toward this, yet we stay stuck. Right? There are a lot of reasons we stay stuck, and we cover those reasons in our programs. And so I'm not going to go into all of them here, but I want to talk about one in particular that I want to reframe, right? And that is this fear of change, right? Fear of change. will this mean for us, right? How will this change affect our day-to-day life, right? How will this change affect our social life or our work life? How will this affect our view of ourselves? How will it affect our ability to connect with other people? How is it going to affect blah, 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 right? The list goes on and on. I know for me personally, I was very, very concerned about how I was going to connect with other people. I thought alcohol was the thing that gave me the social confidence to connect with others. And so I was very afraid. I had a lot of fear around what my social life would look like when I quit drinking, right? And now I have met many, many, many people who have this fear, right? Most people, I would say, that come into our programs have some form of this, right? And there's different flavors of it. I listed a few of them there. I'm sure you guys can think of some as well. But don't think I've ever met anyone who's come into the program and said, our programs and said, you know what, I have zero fear about this. I just want to go, right? There's always something. Now, I want to contrast that with something else. And this is also true. I have never met anyone who has gone through this change of quitting drinking and said something like, man, I wish I never did that. Right? I've never met anyone that has regretted quitting drinking or changing their relationship with alcohol. I've never met that person. Right? And so there's this question that pops into my head, and I've been thinking about it for a long time, like, why is that? Right? Because we all have this fear up front, and then we go through this shift, we go through this change, and then we don't regret it down the road. And like, where does that fear go? Like, what happens? Right? How can people go from a place of being afraid to change to being so excited that they made that change? There are things that we all want to get rid of, right? Like, we want to get rid of hangovers and blackouts and the emotional roller coaster and maybe some of that pressure and some of the issues that come with drinking. But still, there's this element of fear. That's what I want to address today, right? That's what I want to talk about today. And, it's this fear of change. It's this fear of things shifting. It's this fear of things being different in our lives. And it's funny because no matter how hard we try, we can't fully know what the changes we're making will bring us. Right. And so the reason that I bring this up is this, right? We are afraid of change, right? We know that it happens. We know that it's inevitable. We know that, like, outside of the alcohol realm, anywhere in our lives, we know our kids are going to get older and move out. We know that our family and our friends will change over time. We even know that one day, us ourselves, like, we will eventually die. These are facts, yet we resist it. So why? Right? Why does this happen? Right? Because if you look around, all around your life, alcohol related or not alcohol related, fear and resistance to change causes so much emotional turmoil in people that you will know, right? In people in your neighborhood or your family or your workplace or whatever it might be, right? And, very often I hear people talk about the unexpected things they experience as part of the changes that they've gone through. Right? With alcohol, like, I'll regularly hear people say something like, I expected to feel better, but I didn't expect this, right? I didn't expect my work to get so much better. I didn't expect my workouts to get so much better, or my relationship with my wife, or whatever, fill in the blank, right? The fact is, we just can't know what the changes we're making are going to bring us. We can spend a lot of time thinking about it. And it's easy to list for some of those things I listed earlier, right? Like what it might be like to wake up without a hangover, or what it might be like to wake up without, wake up and remember what last night was about, or what it might be like to not take in all those extra calories. There are things we can absolutely know, but there are so many things that we cannot know. That is why I think we're so scared, right? Because when we are faced with an unknown, it's scary, right? Take social life, for example. Like, what is going to happen to my social life? Boy, when I look around, I see everybody drinking. We get together with our friends, and that's what we do, is we drink, and I have no idea what's going to happen when I don't drink. Uncertainty creates fear. Now, here's the thing. I have some ideas, and I want to share them to you. Because one of the things that I think you will find helpful in this, if you are struggling with this, and by the way, this is applicable to lots of different change in your life, not just alcohol, but here we're talking about alcohol. Here's one thing I want to share, right? Change, which we know is a part of life, right? We know that this will happen. I listed some of those changes earlier. Change isn't necessarily about one thing ending and something else beginning, right? Change isn't necessarily about your social life ending and a new social life beginning, right? That feels sad. That feels difficult for us. So the reframe that I give people on this is that change is evolution. Change is evolution. Change is growing into a new version of ourselves. Change is having a new experience of our life. And that evolution doesn't mean that everything we've ever known is left behind. And I think when well, not I think, I know when I talk to clients and I talk to people who are going through this process for themselves, when we reframe this as evolution, when we reframe this as, hey, I am growing, this is an opportunity to grow, this is an opportunity to stretch, this is an opportunity to have new and different experiences, that feels way better than change. And I think so often we view change as an event, like this thing that happens, like one day I'm this, the next day I'm that. And, we just feel scared about it. That scares us, right? Instead of saying, hey, you know what? Change is growth, we say change is scary. But if we look at evolution and we use that word, and I'll talk a little bit later why the words we use are so important, if we look at evolving and what that actually means, what it means is that we are growing, right? This is like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, right? This is, those are two fundamentally different creatures, right? Yet the same, right? So, the kicker is this: change is growth, but we can't fully see what we're going to grow into from where we are right now, right? So to give you that, to go back to that caterpillar analogy, the caterpillar does not know necessarily what it's going to be like to fly as a butterfly. Caterpillar probably doesn't even know it's going to fly. Yet this change happens and this caterpillar experiences it, right? Because we haven't fully experienced this change, because we haven't gone through this evolution before, we don't actually know what this experience will be like. And that is scary. So that's a lot of rambling. I told you this one's going to be kind of out there, but here's the gist of what I'm talking about, right? We spend so much time being afraid of this change, any change in our life, but particularly this change of going alcohol free, right? This idea of, man, I'm going to quit drinking, and what is that going to mean for my life? What is that going to mean for my social life? What is that going to mean for my marriage or my work or my community or my neighborhood or whatever, right? How am I going to deal with stress? How am I going to deal with that? And because we frame this as a change for ourselves, because we frame this as, oh, there's going to be a new version of me down the road that's going to suddenly change, right? It feels very scary, because as excited as we might be for those things, we cannot see how we get there. We don't know, right? That creates fear. That fear holds us back. That fear of, how am I going to deal with stress? How am I going to deal with shifting things changing in my life? How am I going to deal with people, with this family event, with this function? Kind of like Lisa's talking about here in the chat. I'll address that in a second, Lisa. How am I going to handle those things? We don't know. And so it scares us because we frame this as, whoop, suddenly there's a change and now I've got to figure all this other stuff out. I want to reframe that for you, right? I want to reframe this idea of change. As a matter of fact, it's probably a good idea, or at least has been for me, to eliminate the word change from your thoughts on this, from the way that you talk about this, right? I'm going to give you 3 tips, 3 things that I think are super helpful if you find yourself struggling with this fear. The first one is reframe change as evolution. So instead, or reframe it as growth. So instead of saying, oh, I really need to make this change, right? Say, you know what? I'm going to be evolving. Now, why? First of all, let me just cover it. The fact of the matter is the language we use to describe ourselves or our situations has a huge impact on us. We talk about this in our programs, but specifically when we say, I am sad, we're almost defining ourselves as a person as being sad. But if we say, I feel sad, right? That feel word implies that it's temporary. So even though those sentences are very close, I am sad, I feel sad, one has a lot more weight than the other, and that weight is something that we carry in our thoughts. So, first and foremost, reframe change as evolution or growth. Now, why evolution or growth? Well, here's the thing, right? Like, if you, any of you out there who have kids, your kids are the same kids, right? Like they're the same at 5 as they were at 6 as they were at 7. They're still the same person, but they are growing. And I think that so often we tend to look at this alcohol journey as this thing ending and the rest of our life being some unknown. And I'm saying no, like you are so much more than alcohol. You are so much more than your drinking career, no matter how long it's been. And so this isn't about the alcohol, this is about you evolving. This is about you growing past it. And I really want to drive this point home, but that if you can reframe this for yourself as I am growing, right? I am changing, I am shifting. That is going to feel so much better. And you can try it out for yourself, by the way. Like, take some time, when you're feeling that fear, and say to yourself, like, all right, what feels better to me? Like, I'm making this change, or I'm evolving here. I think you'll find that the evolution language leaves room for you to experiment, right? Leaves room for you to get it wrong, leaves room for you to get it right and grow. And that's exactly what this process is, right? This isn't a once and done thing. It's not like one day you wake up and quit drinking, right? What we do with This Naked Mind is we help you change your thinking. We help you change your thoughts so that you change your actions. But as we say over and over, it's not a straight line thing, right? It's not a continuous thing. It's not like, oh, I decided this day to quit drinking and do. It's just like the straight path. Anyone who's done it will tell you that it's windy. It's evolution, right? It's growth. So that's the first one, right? Is reframe that for yourself. Pay attention to that language and engage with it when you see it. Number two, and this one's really fun. I highly recommend that you spend a little bit of time, again, if you're experiencing this fear, but that you spend a little bit of time imagining what these hidden opportunities for growth might be. So I hinted at this in what I was saying, right? Very often, as people go through this process, they really don't know fully what their lives are going to be like on the other side, right? And I call those hidden opportunities, right? These are benefits, these are bonuses to changing your relationship with alcohol that you didn't expect were going to happen, yet they happened. So we can all list out right now, I'm sure, like, here are all of the reasons I want to make this change. And again, by the way, I want to be very clear, like, this can be applied to any sort of change in your life. But, this idea of like, here are all the reasons I want to make this change, or all the reasons I don't want to make this change, whatever it might be. And we can list those out and we can know what we know now, but there is no way that we know what the future actually holds. And so what I want to do is I want to challenge you, and this is the second thing that can help with this reframing, is spending some time imagining what those hidden opportunities might be. What are those things that you didn't think of, right? Maybe it's something simple. For me, and I honestly, like, this is something I never really thought about this. I definitely thought about things that were tangential to this, but I had no idea what this small thing was going to be for me that made such a difference. And it wasn't until I experienced it. It wasn't until I evolved to that point that I actually went, oh, wow, that's a nice bonus. It's this: having my morning cup of coffee by myself with a clear head. Pretty simple, right? Like, it's something that, when I was making lists of the reasons I was going to change and the things that I was expecting to be different in my life, that wasn't on there. That was not on there. And by the way, the things that I did want to change, did end up changing. Like, my relationship with my wife got better, and the relationship with my kids got better. My work improved, my workouts improved, my sleep improved, all of these things that I knew was going to happen. But I wasn't aware of this one thing. So I want you to take some time and imagine what that might be for you. For me, yes, sitting down with a clear head and being able to and think through, like, wow, here's what I'm going to do today, and here's how I feel about yesterday, and just that quiet time with myself every morning. I had no idea that was a bonus that was waiting for me. So imagine what those hidden opportunities for growth might be for you. Right? You can't know what they are, but it's a really fun game to play, and it's a really great opportunity for you to get excited about where you're going, right? That's what we want to develop here, right? That's what this whole thing is about. That's why I'm suggesting that you change your language from change to evolution or growth, right? That is exciting. Imagining these opportunities is exciting, right? Imagining what might be out there, what you're not thinking of right now is exciting. The third thing that you can do is when this fear comes up, right? When this fear of change, when these thoughts of, oh my God, what am I going to do in my social circles? What am I going to do at this work event or at this wedding? What am I going to do to deal with stress? When these things come up for you, pause and give yourself compassion. See, change has been something that has troubled humans for all of our existence, right? We have always, always, always been afraid of change, right? We have always been afraid of the unknown. We're actually evolved to be afraid of the unknown, right? It has created fear in anyone who has ever lived at one point or another. And I stand by this, right? The uncertainty, the fear is something that we all carry around. So when you feel this fear, when you feel the emotions rising up because of change, when you feel maybe the anger that might accompany this, or the sadness, or the worry, or however fear manifests itself for you, give yourself a mental hug and remind yourself that you are a part of a world, a community, and if you want to go big with it, even a universe that is constantly evolving. And your world, your perspective, your life is evolving too. And this thought of saying, hey, you know what, this is scary, but this is a part of life, right? This really worries me, but I'm growing into this new thing, just like everything around me is growing and changing. That can be such a perspective shifting moment where you can take that fear and that anger and that sadness and whatever it might be, and you can honor it for what it is, but then you can also be excited about what's coming ahead. So, reframe this change as evolution. Rethink this idea of this thing ending and this new thing beginning. Instead, make it, hey, I'm growing into this thing. I'm going in this direction. Number two, imagine what those hidden opportunities are that you haven't thought of yet, right? Take some time. Be funny about it. Be creative about it. Remember, like, it could be something really, really tiny. Maybe it's like, you know what? I'm really looking forward to remembering coming home. Or I'm really looking forward to, early morning walks with my dog, right? Whatever that might be, spend some time thinking about what those hidden opportunities are. And number three, right? When this fear comes up, give yourself compassion. Recognize that humans fear change. And for what I know, you are all humans, which means you fear change. And remind yourself that you are part of a world, of a universe, of a community, of a neighborhood, of a family, whatever it might be, that is evolving, right? And that this fear is totally normal, yet exciting, because that's where we are all going. So, that was what I had to say. I know it was a little bit out there. This is what happens, guys. I took 2 weeks off, had a little summer vacation, and then I come back with some weird ass idea. So let me know if this was helpful for you. Tell me in the comments, what you think about this. But this idea of reframing change to evolution, and by the way, applicable to any sort of change in our life, is something that I have found very, very helpful in my own journey. I want to encourage you to please post some questions. I got another few minutes while I'm still going to be live here. I want to go back and address a few things. I want to go back and address a few things that I haven't touched on yet. I saw a couple comments. Where is it? From Lisa. So, yes, please post your questions and I'll be happy to answer any as we wrap up here. So, Lisa says, the fear is crazy. I have never had social anxiety until I started drinking. I attended my grandson's birthday party yesterday. All the adults were drinking. I did not drink, but I got so nervous. And I realized after a while, I'm just as good and funny when I'm not drinking. What, Lisa? Like, so that's awesome, but that's a hidden opportunity for change, right? That's a hidden place of evolution, a hidden place of growth that, like, you might not even necessarily have recognized. Oh, wait, this thing that I was so afraid of suddenly was a boost to my self-confidence, right? Was a boost to my self-image. Like, that is amazing, Lisa. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see. Maria says, best decision I ever made last October for the second and final time. Small daily choices and steps change for one day at a time. I could never have imagined or dreamed that I am in the place I am now. I wouldn't have believed it. Exactly, Maria. That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's like, I think, and I mean, this could be a whole other live, and maybe I'll talk about it more. I'm gonna try not to do these weirder out there ones as often, but unless you guys like them, and I'll do more of them. But I think back on my journey too, and I think to where I was when I quit drinking. And I know, Maria, you've probably heard me say this before, but like, if you had told me back then where I would be now, I forget now, let's say a year after I quit drinking, um, I don't think I would have believed you, right? Because my picture of how my life was going to change was based on where I was in my life at that time. But I forget, and I forgot, like most people do, that we continue to evolve, right? And so the opportunities for change just compound. So you're totally correct. Like, yeah, I wouldn't have believed it. I absolutely know what you mean by that. It's the same thing for me. Let's say Lisa said, I did chuckle when I got home. They're going to feel like crap in the morning. I always see myself as not normal. I got to tell you, that is one thing, like having been around people who drink now, um, I have totally had that same experience of like, whew, that's going to be a rough Sunday morning for that person. Yeah, and it's funny as you gain that perspective, right? And this is another hidden opportunity for growth. I'll point out, Lisa, right? Like to see that cycle from the outside after having participated in it for so long as I did, you start to recognize things about it that you're like, oh wow, like that's not actually desirable for me. I can remember a few times when I've been out and I've seen people and I've seen the way they've acted, or I've had that thought about like, oh, tomorrow morning's gonna suck for you. um, where like I've thought about it afterwards and I'm like, what was attractive to me there, right? And these two things going together, right? Recognizing, oh, I actually am funny and engaging when I'm not drinking, and man, I don't know if I want this experience. That shifts perspective, right? That's evolution, Lisa. That's so good. I was always happy until I drank. I totally get that too. Let's see. Deanna said, a very powerful thing you said was that nobody regrets quitting. That really hit home today. Why am I afraid of something I'm not going to regret? Yet I know I will regret drinking. It's crazy. Yes, Deanna. Yes. And this is like a central conundrum, and like so many people are there. That's why at the top of this, I talked about the Naked Life Stories book. Um, I've been trying for some time to like figure out how to put words to this. So what you guys are seeing right here is kind of like my first attempt at this, but this idea that like it's evolution and there are so many places along the way where we continue to change that it's very difficult for us to even imagine right now what it could be down the road. Um, but yes, it is so scary. And one of the things, and Deanna, if you haven't done it yet, I highly recommend it. I think there's an audiobook version of this too, but check out Naked Life Stories or find a place. And there's lots of these on the internet, lots of podcasts that do this. I know our podcast does this, but find a place where you can listen over and over and over to people's stories. That for me was huge, right? Because what happened when I did that, right? When I listened to, I don't think This Naked Mind podcast was out yet, but I know Recovery Elevator, which is a great podcast, that one was out. And it's this great, like, it was 40-ish minutes, I think, 45 minutes. It's been a while since I listened, but like, it was just story after story after story. And what I was able to hear in those stories was not only like, hey, people from all different backgrounds went through this and are okay, are doing great, but I was also able to hear hidden opportunities for change, right? Those hidden things that I wasn't thinking of. And then I was hearing someone on the other side of this going, oh man, you know what I really enjoy now? This cup of coffee, right? You know what I really enjoy now is this. That was so helpful for me. But it does seem crazy making, right? We know that it's something we're not going to regret, yet it is scary. And that's because we view this as change, not evolution, not just the next step in who we are becoming as people, right? That I think is a missing piece for a lot of people. Um, Maria said, "You also can't unknow what you know. If I ever think, oh, it might be nice to have the voice inside me says, don't be so blank ridiculous. It used to make you feel awful. It wrecked your health and wellness. It made you gain weight. It made you full of regret. What exactly was nice about it?" Yeah, it's so true. Like, I'm telling you, like, that's where you get to this place. Where you get to this place where you have this, you see people like going out at a bar and seeing people and going like, what is that experience like? Yes, you can't unknow what you know, and now you end up in this position where you're seeing it, and whereas before you might be, participating in it, or you or me, like right in the middle of it, like leading it. You're now able to see it as, oh wait, like what is actually, like, what is going on here? Do I really want that? I love that, Maria. That's great. um all right, people found it helpful. Good, I'm glad. The weirder the better. Thanks, Diane. All right, everybody. Well, I am going to. Oh, Deanna, I really like that. Children are not afraid to go. They grow. They want to. Exactly. Exactly, Deanna. All right. Well, thank you all so much for sticking with me today. As a reminder, if you are interested, we are giving away for free, 100% for free, Naked Life Stories, which is the latest book from This Naked Mind, which is literally stories of people who have been through this process of evolution, and you can read their stories, and they're from all different types of background all around the world. So if you are interested in getting a copy of that for free, head on over to nakedlifestories.com. You can get a free digital copy there. I hope you do. I find it super inspiring to read. I did back then, and I still do now. So I hope it's helpful to you. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today, and I will be back next week. Take care.